Chapter 13. Bill peered from the jungle line down to the beaches below, his heart sinking. There, sitting in the bay, was a large Spanish warship. Soldiers in black and red uniforms casually unloading supplies onto the deserted beach. Bill hastily determined this must be the same ship from the attack on his tribe, just as he spotted the familiar salt and pepper hair and broad backside of an aged woman on the bow. Could it be? He strained to catch another glimpse of Two Berries, hauling a heavy barrel of water quite capably across the main deck of the ship. Bill seethed. That was his housekeeper. The Mayan warlord Cholatiti stared out over his shoulder, sucking in his breath as he spied an unknown invader, having only heard stories of these men with fur faces. Their magnificent ships left him breathless, their sails soaring to the sky. Cholatiti signed to Bill. "Your people?" Bill shook his head no, dragging his right forefinger across his throat while pointing silently at the troops assembling on the beach. Cholatiti knew a moment of fear. What did Bill know of these men that he did not? What had he and his warriors to be afraid of? Were these not ordinary men who bled and died like others? Impulsively, Bill bolted from the jungle to the beach, shouting, "Two Berries, I'm coming to save you!" He raced across the sands, struggling up the rope ladder, stopping and resting twice as the Spaniards watched in shocked silence. They were aware of the local natives and had prepared to deal with them through bribery and threats. But where in the world had this mad Englishman come from? The Mayan patrol looked to Cholatiti for orders. Generally, their warlord was more cautious, but Bill had questioned Cholatiti repeatedly about this Two Berries, and he knew it was she whom Bill had come to their land seeking. And Cholatiti had once loved a woman with such passion when he was young. If only he could have saved her. Inspired, he too let loose a war cry, descending upon the startled Spaniards on the beach. It took several precious moments for the Spaniards to realize they were under legitimate attack. A passel of Mayan warriors streaming from the jungle, maces and bone knives drawn, a most fearsome and unexpected sight. In his desire to reclaim his housekeeper, Bill had somehow bungled into the beginnings of the battle for the Americas, igniting a 100-year war, eventually resulting in the demise of the entire Mayan culture and every single person involved. Except for Bill, naturally. Racing through the hand-to-hand combat, Bill finally reached Two Berries and lunged forward, grabbing her from behind to spirit her to safety. The Two Berries spun around, flinging a handful of salt directly into Bill's eyes. Only then did Bill realize his error. This was not Two Berries. The long salt and pepper hair and wide berthing hips belonged to the ship's disgruntled cook, Jorge. Jorge screamed, slapping at Bill with both hands. Jorge had thus far resisted all requests by his superiors to wear his hair bound, thereby saving them the tedious duty of pulling his long hairs from their sopa. He'd refused, contrary by nature, then refused to remove his cook's apron as well, resulting in further demerits. His mother had warned him his stubborn nature would cost him one day. That day had arrived. Jorge clawed at Bill's face while he flailed about, blindly scratching the salt from his eyes as he tried to protect himself. Cholatiti appeared protectively beside Bill, subduing the hysterical cook with a cruel cuff to the man's head, drawing a lariat about his throat as the terrified cook fell to the ground, covering his eyes with his apron. Cholatiti bent down, gathering Jorge's long, loose hair into a ponytail before coldly sawing it from the man's head with a 2-foot bone knife. He offered the trophy to Bill, who demurred politely. The surviving conquistadors were marched back to the citadel to be sold or kept as servants. Jorge would eventually be traded to a Mayan city far to the north, becoming the cherished cook of a wealthy Mayan family. His Spanish dishes would become legendary. His very recipes the components of modern Mexican cuisine, though he never wore his hair long again. The Mayans cheered their enemies' presumed defeat and the capture of Spanish Two-Berries, a traitor, obviously. The warriors patted Bill's back, commending him on his courage, offering condolences on the loss of his woman. Privately, they conjectured upon the strange nature of Bill's relationship with Jorge, though it was apparent to all that whatever it was, it hadn't ended well.